Hey friends, this is Coach and Pastor Jenny McIntyre coming to you. Ooh, I went a little stronger with my anti dark circles. Sorry about that. I love the one of the things that enjoy about live streaming is that I can check my makeup. Seriously speaking, this is Pastor and Coach Jenny McIntyre. As you guys know, I'm a former practicing attorney in my country of national origin. I'm emotional intelligence certified coach, life, an executive, and I am a trainer and I have human capital experience. And I'm also a proud Christian believer, pastor, mother, and wife. My husband is in heaven, but I'm now married to God, which who, according to the Bible, is the best husband one can have. And I'm kind of agreeing with that. I wanted to come back. As you guys know, I am covering the Lori Vallow case, and I'm putting, of course, I have a playlist now, and where you can find out what's happening every single day. As you guys know, cameras are not being allowed, so we are greatly reliant on those that are actually able to go to the very, very small courtroom. There is also an overflow room where people are going in and they're taking notes and they're listening to the trial audio. That's the only thing that's available, audio, to the people that are in the overflow, to the 60 individuals that can fit. But as you can imagine, that's not a lot, particularly, and it's mostly for the people that are either there or have traveled, like with TV news stations and stuff. Court TV being one of them, Idaho News being another one because it's local, and that's where Nate Eaton is from. And if you don't know who Nate Eaton is, he's a journalist that became quite prominent during this Lori Vallow case because he confronted her when the kids were lost and everybody and their mother were looking for them, with the exception of their own mother. By then, she has already managed to end her husband and father of the kids. And so I wanted to come back because last night I did a summary about the 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 6th day. I did a summary about the opening statements, but then in the evening I had the opportunity to listen to both Kay Woodcock and Brandon Boudreaux witness statements, and I thought I would jump here and give you a little bit of a taste as to what I got from them. The first witness was Kay Woodcock, and bless her heart, she was very, very strong. And I think that there's a big difference between hearing about kids being found in a field and all that good stuff, and a complete different thing is to actually hear their grandmother, or and I say their grandmother because although she was only related by blood to JJ, they regarded Tylee and Colby as their grandchildren too. So that's why I said they're grandbabies. So it's a different thing to like hear talk about it. The news, hearing all the bodies were found, whatever. But when you actually hear these people, Kay in court and Larry outside of court, talking about holding hope until the very last minute that the kids were going to be found, and then finding out in June of 2020 that they had been found not only deceased but maimed, burned, dismembered, and in shallow graves in Shadabel's land. And one of the things that has come out is that they didn't even have the strength. They were not required to identify Tylee because Tylee was literally reduced to tissue and bones because they had successfully not only dismembered her but burned her. So there was very little left of her. And apparently they rely on DNA samples. And they probably thought, if we can identify JJ, who was, his remains were in a point where he could still be identified, then they knew for a fact that the person buried right there next to him was Tylee, and then they could confirm that with DNA testing. But what happened is that Kay and Larry were so distraught, they were so sad, that the police asked Brandon Boudreaux, who is the former husband of Melanie Pulaski, with whom he was married and had 4 children before this crazy prepare a people cult started. And so the police asked Brandon. Brandon said, I'll do it. I'll do it just to save Larry and Kay from having to go through that. And sure enough, he identified the baby. 7 years old, guys, 7 years old. Um, yeah. So at any rate, that was interesting to find that out, that they didn't have the strength, the emotional wherewith to do it themselves. They rely on Brandon, and man, guys, Brandon got really emotional in several parts of his testimony. But let me finish with Kay, and then I'll go back to Brandon. As you guys know, I told you yesterday that they were able to conduct autopsies with Tammy, the second autopsy, and with JJ, the first autopsy, and they were able to confirm that both of them died by asphyxiation. So it's clear, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's been proven that they were murdered. I mean, obviously, you can conclude the same with Ali, because she was found buried, she was found maimed, she was found burned, but you cannot come up with a cause of death. That's the bottom line. You cannot come up with a cause of death. So, in a case testimony, one of the most interesting things is to the fact that she was helping Charles Vallow when he was still alive with his business. He was doing some things for him. And she was having some problems, like with the laptop and whatever. And she gets up like at 4 in the morning because she was trying to figure this out. And that has happened to me. It's like, you have a problem, you can fix it. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to disconnect for a few. And let me see if I can come back and look at it with fresh eyes and see if I can figure it out. So she does that. She gets up at 4 in the morning and she finds searches in Amazon conducted by Lori Vallow, where she was looking for Malachi wedding rings, apparently some sort of special wedding ring. And she's doing that research when Charles Vallow and Tammy Daybell were still alive and happily married with their spouses. And that goes towards premeditation, right? Because we are not talking about, second-degree murder is something that you didn't plan and it just happened. But first-degree murder with premeditation, that implies that there was some planning. And when Kate Woodcock saw that, she was like in shock. I mean, those wedding rings were being researched by Lori when her husband was still alive. And she was like accusing him of being unfaithful to him. When she was the one being unfaithful to him, he was accusing her. She was accusing him of being unfaithful to her when she was the one who was being unfaithful to him from the moment she met Chad Daybell. But she had already decided that she was going to marry Chad Daybell, and they had to create a narrative around that. And the narrative was, people get dark, and we can determine when they get dark. And when they get dark, they're possessed by a demon, and the only way to deliver them from that demon is by destroying the body. So when Lori is asked where the kids are, and she very proudly says, they're okay. I know exactly where they are, and they're doing just fine. I've met people like that. I've met people that are evil and that can spiritualize anything. And I know exactly what she's saying. She's saying, they're in heaven. We have delivered them. The problem with people that deceive, the Bible talks about that, is that they go on not only deceiving others, but being deceived. And I think at the beginning, Lori and Chad might have prepared this as a way to justify what they were about to do. But I think by now they probably convinced themselves that this is what needed to be done and that they did something amazing. Let me know if you're interested in me addressing the issue of the 144,000. See, you're going to notice that some of my videos have no views. Some of my videos have some views. I'm doing this anyway because I'm following this case. So it's worth the while doing it. But I don't want to produce anything that people are not interested in taking a look at. So if you are interested in me giving you the actual factual biblical interpretation of the 144,000, I'll be happy to do it. But let me know that you're interested. So, and when they finally get married, they give each other Malachi rings. So she was researching it when they were still alive. A couple of months later, Charles Vallow gets killed. Then Tammy DeBelle dies supposedly in her sleep, but as I just told you, it has been determined that she was actually asphyxiated. And less than 17 days later, they get married at the beach in Hawaii. And Sade Bell, shortly after Tammy passed, was introducing her to her neighbors. And the neighbors report that they couldn't keep their hands off each other. And it had only been a few days since Tammy had died. Pretty crazy. So, and then it's really funny, when you're in law school, one of the things they teach you, particularly in courtroom etiquette, is never ask a question if you are not sure that you're ready for the answer. And I think that when Kay was, I'm trying to think of the exact words she used, but it was something to the effect of, I don't know why I got so obsessed about getting up and figuring out the laptop thing. And she's like, I think it was God ordained or something like that. And the defense attorney said, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, I think God wanted me to find that information. Man, he wrapped up that cross-examination in no time after that. I don't think he was ready for that answer. But good for Kay, because she got emotional and broke down a couple of times very briefly when she was being shown the picture of JJ. But all things considered, she did a very good job. I think she made a very credible witness. She spoke about when the family was okay and as how the family started deteriorating, when Lori was a good mother and how that started like going downhill. And God bless her for doing what she did. And then I want to talk about this guy, Brandon Boudreaux, because man, that guy has suffered so much. And I know that we have focused a lot on Tylee and JJ, as we should, because they're two precious children. But man, the Brandon Boudreaux is a hero, because Tammy DeBelle was shot 1 or 2 days before she was actually asphyxiated. She was shot, and it is believed that it was Alex Cox, and we know that he failed. And one witness is going to testify to the fact that Lori said, talking to who they believe was Chad, he can do anything right. But of course, 2 days later, apparently, Chad Bell is with his wife, Tammy, and the only other person left was their son. And he goes to work and he leaves his mom perfectly healthy with her dad. And that was the last time he sees her alive. So apparently, Alex failed, and then they will finish it, right? But Brandon Boudreaux was married to Melanie Pulaski, and she had 4 children. And she started fighting with him, and he wanted to participate of these meetings that she was participating. Apparently, a very, very committed Mormon. And she literally told him, no, you're not welcome. And then at some point, she started saying, I don't trust you. She started saying, you are homosexual. The Lord has told me you're homosexual. And she started distancing herself from him until the point where she says, I want to divorce you. And you can see how sad he is. You can see how this came out of nowhere. Like he was not expecting this. They had 4 babies. 4, guys, 4. The 2 ones were still toddlers. And she literally divorced him so that she could follow her crazy aunt all the way to Idaho. where they were going to start the headquarters of preparing the people. She ended up living next to Lori. Alex Cost was living there too. Chad Daybell was living there too, like in an apartment compound. God help us. God knows what they were really trying to do there. But I mean, he sees his marriage and his family disintegrate for no reason. And he says that he felt really, really guilty when it happened to him, because when it started happening to Charles Vallow, and Charles Vallow was sending text messages to all the family members saying, this is what Lori's doing. This is just crazy. Something really wrong is going on there. He says that Melanie Pulaski told him that they needed to take Lori's side. So he was not there for Charles. But when it started happening to him, then he felt really, really bad, because Charles reached back to him and said, man, that's exactly what happened with me and Lori. And then Brandon says that he apologized to Charles because he had not been there for him when he was going through it. And so he had to like move really fast, and he had to get like a house. And I praise God that he got that house, because once he got that house, he could have his kids. Because Melanie Pulaski would not let him visit his kids in her house because she said she didn't feel safe, although she had no reason and there were no police reports filed to say that he was doing anything against her. She just started making up these excuses. And Brandon Boudreaux says that once he had his house, then he could have his kids. And then, of course, I don't know what the status is of the child custody, but I don't think, based on the fact that Melanie Boudreaux was so associated with Lori Vallow and what happened to Tylee and JJ, and the fact that she was living completely out of state and she didn't check with the courts or anything, I think chances are Brandon Boudreaux got the custody of his kids. You know what? I'm going to research that. I'm going to come back the next time I do a video. I'm going to open it up with the results of my research. But talk about someone that has suffered and he was shot at. He could be dead. He could be part of the list of people that died, but he's not, because he saw the gun coming out of the Jeep, which, by the way, was the Jeep that Tylee owned. And it was verified that this was her Jeep because he had bought some insurance for Alex Cox, and Alex Cox had given him the VIN of all the vehicles, including Tylee's vehicle. So the police was able to verify that it was that man. Yeah, he's alive by a miracle, but like, you can see how sad he is. You can see how brokenhearted he is. You can see how this cult ruined his marriage, his family, his life. And the only good thing I can think of that came out of this is that those kids, those babies, those 4 babies, were taken away before they could kill them. Because I have zero doubt they would have killed them too. See, it's kind of like the attorney says. They wanted Tammy Daybell's insurance policy. They killed her, and they got her insurance policy. Lori made sure that she was receiving Tylee's Social Security benefits, and that she transferred her funds from her account to Lori's account. And as soon as she did those 2 things, Tylee was gone. Lori made sure she was receiving Social Security benefits for JJ, and as soon as she did that, he was gone. And while they were disappeared, that nobody knew where they were, she kept collecting those funds. And then finally, she thought that she was getting the Charles Vallow insurance policy. And she didn't realize until she tried to file for it that he had changed the beneficiary for it to be Kate Woodcock. And so in that particular respect, she failed, but it's not because for any other reason that it was just a miscalculation. At any rate, guys, that this is becoming too long of a video. I wanted to jump here and tell you about the trial. Once I listened to those 2 testimonies, I thought that it would be a good idea to come here and make a little commentary on it. I hope this is useful. Thank you for liking, subscribing, checking for notifications. I love you guys very much. I hope that this is helping a little bit, since we cannot see the trial live. And even if we could, who's got hours and hours and hours and hours. So I rather do the research, get myself informed, and then pass it on to you guys. Hopefully this is useful. Let me know if you're interested in like specific like topics that deal on the false teachings they were spreading, like the 144,000 translated news, reincarnation, several lives or iterations, or what they call probations. I would be more than happy to discuss that in the light of the Word of God. And I love you guys very much. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. And I'll come later with the trial today. Take care. Bye.